Most tops are like emotional vampires. What I want out of this is I want your fear and embarrassment and degradation. If I'm saying stuff and it's not resonating, I'm not getting what I want. So give me what I want. Tell me what buttons to press. Help me find them. Most people wonder, where am I going to have to make the compromise? The answer is...
It's the Kink Consultant Podcast, where we're turning up the heat on all things kink and dating, relationships, and pop culture. So close the door, plug in your headphones, and let's get down to it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Kink Consultant Podcast. I am joined once again by Miz Darling, a good friend of mine and a phenomenal, scary dom. Also quite nurturing. I think you are going to love her if you haven't already met her on one of my episodes. Welcome back, Miss Darling.
Hello. Well, thank you so much for having me back to the podcast. I feel like you and I always have such great conversations that we might as well be recording them and sharing them with the world anyway.
Our last episode we recorded July 4th weekend, so almost a year ago.
Yes.
And then it aired beginning of September. We have obviously been working together on some things, but in your personal life, what's been going on?
Well, I'm getting ready for the same kink weekend coming up this 4th of July weekend, which started as just me and my partner going to meet a friend of his who lived in North Carolina. We kept adding people. Now it's at 12 people. If we're looking at Airbnbs next year, we might have to get like a 16 plus baller Airbnb. But already I'm navigating like, hey, 12 people. It occurs to me, we can't just go out to eat. We can't just go to a restaurant without a reservation. It takes a lot more planning. I am learning that this year and like having to do a lot more organizing.
Obviously, I'm really excited that the party has maxed out, but way to rub in my FOMO, like just cranking it up to 11. No, but I am really excited because I want more people to go. What's really funny is you're starting with a capacity of 12, and as our networks grow and our friends, like deep friends, the ones who we trust completely, grow, I could see us having like our own little, I don't know, small motel buyout of just all of us going to a motel.
That would be really cool. I never thought about that. And that would save a lot of organizational, where as soon as people start getting their own spaces and their own rooms, it's like, do what you want. I'm not your mom. I'm not in charge of you. I'm kind of camp dad for this particular trip.
You were like in charge of everything last time too, because everyone just looked to you for the answers. What are we doing now? What's happening? You tell us when to leave and we'll go.
For sure. And this year, we've never made it out on time to fireworks for 4th of July because it's like herding cats trying to get people. And I think I'm going to, like, Miz Darling is coming to this party. Like, if we're doing fireworks, I'm just going to be like, we're going at this time. My Airbnb rating is stellar. Monday morning at 9 whatever, I'm like a drill sergeant being like, my Airbnb rating is perfect. Get your stuff there. I see you talking. Stop chatting. More cleaning.
I left early. Well, me and other people left early on that trip. No, but that's how you have to be. And I love when the Miz Darling needs to come out.
Well, again, it's so funny. We were going to talk about female dominance and that sort of thing. I think women don't realize how often it's a part of themselves that comes out. I've got one friend who's a school teacher. She's a switch. But when I see her top, I'm like, oh my God, this is for sure how you order your students around when they're acting up. And we love it.
It is part of people. So just this weekend, I had my first Dom women meetup group. It's supposed to be monthly, but this month we're doing 2 meetings. On July 12th, we're talking about pulling out your inner authentic Dom and who that is. And it's so much what you're saying. It's what are you like day to day? I know for myself, I'm a caretaker. I'm a slight sadist, but for the most part, I'm like a mommy Dom type. And that is just how I show love, how I care. It's how I dom. What is your type?
As a dominant, like what I enjoy about it is channeling characters to a certain extent. So I like taking on characters that don't necessarily feel like me. But if we're talking about authentic domination, yeah, I think if there's ever a part of you that has been, this person's been rushing around all day doing stuff, and I'm going to be like, sit down and eat the food that I made you. You need to sit right now and eat. That's the energy. If some drunk 20-year-old comes into your bar and wants to butt ahead of you in karaoke and you're like, you need to behave yourself right now, or I'm calling, whatever it is, that energy, like it's there and it's accessible. But I also find that I play a lot of bullying. I feel like for me, I never was a mean girl in high school or junior high, but except maybe in a protective, self-defensive way. But she's in there and I enjoy letting her off leash sometime. Domination, I feel like, is often a verb. I hear this with acting. Again, don't think of it as like what I have to say and what I have to do, but like think of the verb. If the verb is bully, then bully them. Just like, I'm going to get mean. Yeah. I'm going to like take delight in this. Or if it's control or like caretake or whatever it is, just like zero in on that. I'm going to shame them. I'm going to guilt them. I'm going to coerce them.
because of who you are not a high school bully or a middle school bully, but I also know because of who you are that if you wanted to, you could psychologically fuck someone up.
Yeah. Bullies didn't mess with me because I was scary in that way. And it did come out sometimes where I'm like, you won't mess with me because I will publicly shame you.
And that is exactly what I'm hoping to pull out of people at our next Dom meeting, which, by the way, it is a free meeting once a month for Doms. It's not for professionals. You can be professional, but it's about experiencing this in your private life. So if you're interested in that, I will put the link in the show notes below. All women, not women and non-binary people assigned female at birth are welcome. This group is specifically focused on helping people socialized as women during their formative years to tap into their inner dominance. I'm talking about the years where they were taught to be nice and be kind and be gentle. And those messages do make it harder to tap into our dominant side. So I'm specifically working with that group of people to help bring out their inner dominance.
I talk a lot with people about female dominance versus masculine dominance because you can do both. I know a lot of female doms that tap into more masculine energy, like the same that you would see if it was a male dom, and there's not a big difference except that it's female identifying person doing it. But then there's a specific blend of like what I would consider female dominance. It's often about using your sexuality to kind of coerce. It's often about a little bit more verbal and mean girl. I was topping a friend of mine who is a trans woman, and she, as a bottom, one of her ways that she handles pain is to viciously kind of verbally come back at the person who's topping her. And she gets topped by a lot of men. So she wanted me to top her, and it was a different experience with her because she's trying to come at me. And I'm like, oh, you want to go? Like, I started coming back at her. And she, at one point, she was just like, I'm a pretty big woman. And she started making comments on, I have awfully big and masculine hands for a woman. And I'm like, girl, do you want to go there? And she's just like, oh no, I can't fight back against you. Like, she was putty. And she's just like, that was a really interesting experience. I can't come at a woman the way that I can come at a man.
I can't wait to read the comments on that one sentence, Miz Darling, but I agree with it, right? I also think there's actually a lot of jealousy from men that they can't dominate more sexually.
Absolutely. Or even more aggressively. Like, my partner is a top, and sometimes I'll do mean things or aggressive things that's amazing that you did that, but like, please respect that you can do that because you're a woman. If I did that as a large man, that would be terrifying for someone unless they knew me really well, or like it would come across as too harsh, too mean, which is fair.
I love when people make the comparison out loud. He's not shaming you or saying you shouldn't do it. He's celebrating that you did, and also just showing the double-edged sword, the double standard. I always try and do it as a woman. I try and show the double standard. And I think that it's great that he's able to do that as a man and say, like, just remember, that's something mostly only female doms or people in probably a very trusting partnership or dynamic can do with each other.
100%. And even like a notable thing too is that me as a woman, I can also get away with making more mistakes, I think, than men can in terms of topping because I don't feel unsafe as a person. I've definitely, all tops make mistakes related to bad aim from time to time or going over consent that you're like, right, shoot, you said that and it slipped my mind. But I feel like I get forgiven a lot more, which is, again, a double-edged sword. It's great for new people, new women that want to dominate. You can afford not to overthink it because you're going to get a little bit more leeway. But then you also have the responsibility of, I can't count on that. I do need to uphold consent. I do need to be safe.
And you need to be safe with new partners, especially because tempers can flare. I learned that when I was a dom in a dungeon, basically just taking people off the street. You don't know what someone's fuse is. It could be really short, and next thing you know, you're being screamed at. Luckily, that only ever happened to me once. But I learned, you have to be careful.
Or what their trauma triggers are.
That is a minefield. You can't. Very few people know all their triggers. Maybe not all of us, because we haven't been put in enough situations to figure out every single trigger, whether you've been through trauma or not. The one thing I want to call out is I have sadly heard of many men who have called red and the dom has gone past their red, which to me is, there's one thing about stepping over a boundary, like forgetting consent, but immediately checking yourselves, but going past a red.
Wildly unacceptable.
There is zero. There is man, woman, there is no instance where that's okay. None.
No.
And I've seen it. One time I was at a party. It was very shortly after my breakup from my ex. And I was not with it, right? But I remember watching a scene and the party organizer, his girlfriend called red and he kept going. And like, I'm still ashamed of myself for not like stepping up and being, that's when I'm like, I just was not even in, my mental capacities were not about me. Luckily, some other woman did step in and say, she just called red. Why are you going past it? And that was the only thing that stopped him from doing it. So I've seen it happen men and women. I just think it's unacceptable in either scenario. And I've heard about it happening a lot more men than women.
100%. Well, me too. Like, again, when I first started doming, to this day, it's amazing how the horror stories I've heard from people about other doms that they met with who were either not professional, trying this for the first time, whatever it was, or just not safe. The basic, like, again, I feel sometimes it's like showing up to the job interview and it's like I showed up on time with the resume, so I got the job. Like, it shouldn't be that easy. I show up,
Yes.
I have a basic understanding of kink and consent, so I'm a great dom, apparently. Like, that's ridiculous. We need a higher bar than that.
I feel for people. I see this a lot in the comments on my videos of just like, well, there's no one else to choose from. Too. Like, why are there so few doms? Which is, again, why I started my group, because I was like, I want more doms in the world who actually enjoy this and are learning to love it. But that's why I think the bar is low, because we're like, oh, it's slim pickings. I will say at Spanko parties, that is not how I feel at all. I do not feel like there are very few doms, male or female. There are a ton of switches.
Well, that's the thing. I think when you're first entering, or if you're coming at it not from a kink community background, out there, yeah, it seems like there are really few doms, especially women. But when you get into the scene, there are so many women. I would say like a lot of women enter as bottoms, a lot of men enter as tops. That just seems to be the socially acceptable role. And then give it 5 years, so many of them are switching. And I feel like women, especially as we get older, bottoming for a lot of people, I think once you get your sort of serotonin levels balanced or whatever it does on a physiological sense for you, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm good for a bit. I don't need that often. And it becomes fun you still want to play with your friends. That's largely what happened to me. Like, I still want to play with my friends, and I have a backlog of 30 years of fantasies of what to say and what to do. So it's fun to top.
You nailed it. Yes, there is a backlog of fantasies that we get to draw on. Sometimes I think about how lucky both of us are, and a lot of our friends, for ending up in relationships with people who share our fetish and even our kinky interest in general, because that backlog you're talking about, we did get to start, working through the stories and making them happen. And then oftentimes someone who's about to talk to their partner, like, one of the things I always say is, just remember, you've been thinking about this for 30 years. You basically have a PhD in it. You're trying to teach a kindergartner. Like, let's level the playing field here. Because, like, I'm sure if you and I shared stories, we'd have very similar fantasies. Out of the, 30 plus years of fantasies, there'd be somewhere would be like, yep, I have that exact same fantasy. And then somewhere it'd be like, I could never, for both of us.
For sure. I was going to say, it's hard. I feel like conventional wisdom in the kink scene is that beginners shouldn't play with other beginners, top or bottom, which is exactly what is happening when you've never explored this and you're bringing it to a vanilla partner. Like, it's not even just that someone gets it and somebody doesn't, but it's also that these are two beginners muddling around together. Whereas if both of them had access to a more experienced top and bottom to play with, and learned that way and then came together, it would be a different experience.
Even just comparing it to, if you've never engaged in any type of kink play, comparing it to when I lost my virginity to another virgin. I can't tell you whether it was good or bad, because first of all, we had no idea what we were doing. Besides the mechanical part of this thing goes in this thing. That was all we really knew. And I can't tell you if it was good or bad, but I can tell you that we're a little lost. We were like, okay, our bodies are telling us we need and want this thing, so let's go for it. But it was a little messy. And I think that that's kind of what you're describing with two total beginners. And there's nothing wrong necessarily with two beginners trying it. It's just going to be a different experience than if you have one guiding, even if it is the sub or the bottom who's the guiding one.
Subs. Yeah. Because I learned most of my stuff from experienced subs, as many people do.
That's true. I learned a lot of my stuff from pro doms because of my early, mid-20s dungeon experiences. And then I think in the Spanko world, I definitely, as soon as I went to my first party, other subs just took me under their wing and taught me a lot of things about even just how to deal with tops and turn people down, because the idea is like, oh, well, we're all into the same thing. Why aren't we all just playing together? And it's like, no, you're allowed to have preferences. You should have boundaries and say no to everyone. Also, start real slow. No matter how experienced you are, you're at a party now. Don't start with, as the joke goes, don't start with wood on the the first night. You can if you're experienced. But yeah, figure yourself out first.
100%. And these are roles that we have. Like if you're coming into a vanilla space, you can talk to your girlfriends, you talk to your guy friends. You may not always get the most informed advice, but it's people that have done this before and this is common knowledge. Whereas if you're trying things with kink, like if you're not in the community, who do you get that guidance from?
I'm really trying to think. I think that's probably why I have so many social media followers, because I'm like bridging that gap. And that's why I always push people to go to those educational events just to learn things. We both talk to a lot of newbies in kink. Have you ever guided any of your clients to talk to their partner? I'm assuming 99% of your clients are male.
Yes, the vast majority.
Have you ever taught a man how to talk to his wife about his specific interest?
Not really. Most of the time people come to me when they're at the point, like some people come to me where after they have broken it to their partner and gotten a kink-aware therapist and now are reaching out to me. I get a lot of that. Or I get people who sometimes people are like entirely closeted and have no interest in involving their partner. They're like, it's not broke. I've got a stable situation working here. Why am I going to mess with it? Yeah, it's a hard one. But again, sometimes the people who already talk to their partners, I definitely have conversations about how to integrate more, how to talk to it more, how to explain things more.
What do you find is a common denominator of the ones who have like opened up, but still come talk to you and still come work with you?
I mean, it's hard. I feel like a lot of the time their partners don't get it. And there's that sense of loneliness, which I really think that side of things, it's like having an interest. If you're really into fishing and your partner's not, you need to go make friends who like to fish. It's hard to get around that. But in terms of engaging with it, again, a lot of people come out and don't feel bad coming to see a professional because their partner just isn't interested in meeting them halfway or exploring this side. Or sometimes older men will come to me with, like, my wife went through menopause and she's happy to offload this to somebody else. But a lot of these men are still interested. Like best case scenario, they would still have some sexuality, some things that they did with their partner. They would still have that piece of it.
Yeah. I mean, and I do know a lot of women who, because I work with couples who are like, yeah, I'm actually really happy for him to go explore this with somebody else. And that is their solution. I kind of love when that happens because sort of like they've truly exhausted all options. They have found the kink affirming therapist or coach and worked through it and thought like, I want to stay with you. I just have zero interest in this. I understand you just want that and it doesn't need to be your whole next relationship. It's just sort of like this thing you go out and do now, like fishing.
Yeah, for sure.
It's hard though because sometimes kink happens with clothes off, or sometimes it's hard for non-kinksters to wrap their head around how non-sexual it can be. It's that part I think is what I'd call the hard sell, is really helping someone come around to realizing I know it looks sexual, it sounds sexual, it feels like it's probably sexual. I do get sexually aroused from it, but at the same time, this isn't about me having sex with anyone else.
I mean, yes. In many, many cases, in most cases, that is the case. I do know for some people there is peril where it's like you're looking for a dynamic, like your perfect thing would be a 24/7 dynamic, which in itself is a difficult thing. Like I feel like sometimes you and I have talked about like people falling in love with their doms, and it's like you are falling in love with a version of me that you get for such a short period of time. Even if we were together and happy, this would not be all the time. Like that's a lot.
I know. Do you consider yourself in a 24/7 dynamic right now?
Not really. I mean, I don't know. It's a hard thing to say because it is kind of on whenever it's on, but we mostly just exist at this point like a normal couple that involves like it's not a 24/7 dynamic. There's not protocol. There's not.
I feel the same way. Like when I dig in, a lot of people reach out to me and they're like, I think I'm not 24/7, but, and then go on to describe what I would still consider 24/7 because the role, I mean, I know a couple of people who are true 24/7 master slave. Right. And it is high protocol. But I almost think the 24/7 high protocol needs its own A+ tier of dedication and commitment to being 24/7 because that one's truly never off. But I think 24/7 as a general statement is sort of like you can slide into kink play at any time in a way that isn't always foreplay. I don't know how to describe that, but it's...
Yeah, and it doesn't need to... It's not relegated specifically to, and now we will involve this into sex. And it's just like, I don't care. It's sort of negotiated that I don't care if you want this or not. When I say it's on, it's on.
And that's 24/7 to me. Because at any moment it can be on and you're sort of like, okay. And obviously, at least for me, I still have safe words. I assume you also have a version of red, this cannot happen right now type of thing. I've been finding lately that one of the things that a lot of people have around this conversation is such a deep shame and fear that they are scared to actually have the conversation. I recently had a client, I think I may have been telling you this, someone come to me for a consult, and they were telling me that they were thinking about divorce, and they were like, I'm going to have to explore this elsewhere. And I asked, okay, so tell me about the conversation you had with your wife where, you brought up kink. And he said, well, I haven't directly said it. And this man was going to divorce and an affair before ever speaking to his wife, because he just, when it came to it, I realized he felt really embarrassed about wanting to be dominant. So he went worst case scenario, had already had the conversation in his mind and never said it out loud. And that was the hop, skip, and jump, because from best I can understand it, it's shame around culturally wanting to be what is now considered a toxic man. And obviously with consent, it's not toxic if someone else is agreeing to it, but he had a lot of shame around that. And I think that was one of my favorite examples, because I'm like, wow, shame stopped you from even being able to say it. You just immediately went to, this is going to go terribly and I'm going to have to get divorced. And they had kids and everything, but in his mind, he catastrophized to that point. And I am seeing a lot of shame. And I feel like you are one of my favorite deep thinkers in the world of fetish and discussions around it. So sometimes I love to chat with you about well, what would you do in this situation? I'm wondering, what would you do in a situation where someone was like, that's it, I'm ready to tell my partner I'm ready to say it. What advice would you give?
Well, I would probably invite them to try a practice conversation. I'm like, hey, do you want to try that out on me? Tell me I'm your wife. Let's see how that might go. But yeah, I guess making it clear that people are not always their best in the moment of hearing things. Don't expect, you may get a good reaction. You may not get it in the moment. So, because you have to give people time to process. So I think that you should introduce the idea to your partner, let it be slow. You don't have to have the full conversation right now, but just give them a little bit of information hey, here's what I'm into, that sort of thing. And then if they don't seem like they are ready to talk about it more, or they're pulling back off, and try not to take that as a catastrophic sign, because it could just be that they need a little bit of time to process, and maybe tomorrow over coffee in the morning or the next evening at dinner or something like that, they're going to be more ready to take the next step and talk about it a little bit more.
That is literally, yes, perfect, because that is what I do as well. I mean, there is the emphasis on please have the conversation at a time that's convenient for your partner, and ask them.
100%.
But I find that lately a lot in general. We jump so quickly into the conversation before assessing the surroundings and thinking is this the opportune time? Because of this, it's almost like the pendulum swung. Before, I think boomers and older used to keep everything in, and then Gen X had this medium period, and now, Gen X, and then everyone after, it's I have a thought, I'm going to share it right now because it is about to burst out of me.
Yeah, it's funny to hear you say that, because I feel like I do that kind of instinctively. Yes, obviously, find a time that is private and quiet and people are reasonably calm and in a good mood and not having to leave in 10 minutes, all of that.
I see you doing that instinctively, seeing 40 different things at once, and then 40 different things at once, and then being okay, now is actually the right time, versus you're assessing a lot.
Well, I feel like this is just friendship and marital and relationship 101. If your partner is agitated or busy, this is not the time to have a conversation. Again, you don't have to solve the problem in the moment. They blew up at something or something went bad. Just let it calm down. And then tomorrow over coffee, bring it up and be hey, remember when that thing happened? Can we talk about that?
Yes, that to me is friendship 101, relationship 101. That's more of an advanced level course, I think, to let it happen and then come back to it at a calmer time.
You have to. It's like parenting.
Oh, well. Yeah, I see that with kids. You also know not to overload kids with information when they're busy and trying to figure something out.
Yeah, but I just mean also I see, again, I've got enough kids, people with parents or people with kids in my life, that if your kid's having a meltdown and you get frustrated and yell at them, that's not the time to process, later on when you're tucking them into bed or the next day, be hey, remember when mama yelled at you because you ran out onto the road and weren't listening to me? You have to have those follow-up. It's aftercare,
The aftercare piece of it. This is why I think it's hard when you're a non-kinkster. There are so many pieces of it, and aftercare isn't just for kink, but it is much more important. I think if you've played psychologically with someone, if you have done any type of impact or bondage, like if you are taking someone on a journey that you don't go on step by step with them, instead you're taking them on the journey, I think aftercare becomes important. And that is like parenting. Like you are taking your child on a journey because this is their first time doing a lot of the things. And then same with kink, whether you are in the dominant or submissive role, you're taking each other on a journey. And that's why both sides, I think, need aftercare. It's just the bottom probably needs it first, as
100%.
they've often or been able to go into subspace and like let go of a lot of life in that moment. So bringing them back down to earth is a huge part of aftercare, in my opinion, the kinkster bottom. There's so much to learn. It's not that simplifying it is difficult. I think what becomes difficult is when you're also trying to communicate your deep interest and what you want from your partner. Like, oh, I really want you to dom me, which could mean a million things. To me, doming could be very physical impact play if that's the mood I'm in, as opposed to a mind fuck scene.
Yeah, for sure. It could be a million different things. I sometimes wish and recommend that couples that are trying to get exploring this would go together to their local munch. I see couples that do this, and it usually goes well because people get the support and guidance that they want, and the vanilla partner is, welcomed in and like, oh, wow, it's so great that you're here. There's a lot of like love and guidance for couples who do that.
I agree. One of my favorite things, though, is working with clients who have explored this before, or they're really trying to integrate it into their relationship, and they've gone to a dominatrix together, especially where it's a husband who wants his wife to be more dominant, and then she gets to watch and learn the questions the pro is asking her husband, and it gives her more insight. And those were my favorite sessions as a dominatrix when I worked in New York, was when a couple came in and she wanted to learn to dom. I always got those clients because the energy and excitement stood out of like, yes, I want to work with you. I think going to see a pro dom is also a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I have not had one of those yet, and I would die for it. And I've done it a little bit in scene with people who are interested in topping. But I think even the experience, it can be something as small as seeing what people's pain tolerance is like. Again, the couples that have come in and started coming to munches and play parties see their partner. It's like, you can spank him this hard and he's fine. He's really fine. You're not going to break him.
Yeah,
and just that
true.
alone is so reassuring.
I didn't even think about that because I recognize now that I'm not going to break people, but back then I definitely was fearful of it. That's a really good point. Listen, I'm putting out into the universe. I hope you get one of those, a couple client soon. What kind of questions do you ask when you have a newbie come to you?
Again, I always do a full half-hour interview with anybody that I session with. Like, it's a prerequisite before I'll session with somebody, whether they're new or not. But my usual questions are just like, hey, to what extent have you gotten to explore this so far? Is usually my first question, in terms of like, have you seen pros? Have you had play partners? Are you mostly watching porn? Depending on what they're into, it'll specify the questions. But for the sake of this, let's say impact play. Have you had marks or bruises before? Is pain an important element to you, or is it the other things and pain is less important, or just like a byproduct? Let's think. Positions that you like, implements that you like or are curious about. Gosh, there's so many different things. I always go over safe words. I always go over, do you have any physical conditions or allergies? Consent questions like, what level of nudity are you comfortable with? Are you okay if I hold your arm, like physically restrain you with my body? Are you okay if I physically restrain you with other things?
Yeah. Those are all solid, important questions that even I think that I'm like, oh, I would probably forget to ask that now. Like, oh, are you okay if I restrain you with my body? I would just assume, oh, you're here. Because I am not an active pro right now, I would not do that in like sessions with my clients. Do you ever ask them about specific fantasies they want to play out with you?
Yes, I think that's the harder thing to get people, especially people who are new and it's not forthcoming. And this is where experience helps, because I know enough to be like, hey, you are into foot domination. I'm like, I can name off the common ones. What about a scene where I do this to you versus a scene where I do this to you? One of the questions that I find most helpful is, anybody who wants me to dominate them in any kind of aggressive way, am I doing this to punish you, or am I doing it because I'm sadistic, like I just enjoy doing it? Like, where do you fall on that line? That really narrows things down a lot.
That's a huge indicator. When I do pickup play, I ask a version of that as like, how do you want to feel at the end of this? And I feel like it helps get to that. Sometimes they want to feel punished. Sometimes they want to feel broken, which I'm not actually breaking them, but it's like that psychological, like, okay, I'm going to break you down. Got to find time to build you up too before we part ways. But yeah,
and
that's
also like what level of like degrading and mean versus warm and nurturing. Do you like a mix of that at different times? Do you want me to like, make you feel like, do you want me to bully you and like laugh at it and be mean and cruel? Or do you want me to be like, do you want me to seduce you into taking pain because I enjoy it and you want to please me?
The reason that I'm like, I get tense when I think about this because the degradation and bullying, love it.
Yeah.
My fear of actually upsetting someone by touching a nerve there, the minefields we talked about, that is huge for me. It's like, okay, I want to make sure, because that's probably where too much empathy comes into play. Because I'm like, oh, if somebody said that to me, I'd be devastated. And that might be their sexiest, hottest fantasy ever for someone to call them out on that stuff.
Yeah, so absolutely. And that's when they say they're into degrading, I'll often break it down to, okay, can I say like you're a loser, you're worthless? How about like no woman's ever going to want you, you're not a real man, no girl would ever look at you. Like, I'll go into a few of these, you're a slut, you're a bitch, whatever. So I'll suggest a few of them and be like, that's okay, this okay, not so that much. But I also always tell people, that's where I use safe words. Yellow, I'm like, please use yellow for language. When I'm playing with you, I will have such a better time if I know I'm not going to overstep. Promise me, if I say something that pulls you out of the scene rather than pulls you into the scene, you yellow on that phrase and I will just navigate away from it and we don't even have to break the scene. We just keep going.
Even just the questions you ask and the way you navigate yellow is really helpful for people who want to stay in scene and find it difficult to stay in the fantasy of it. And I find a lot of people won't call yellow even because they're so scared of breaking that. And they're like, I don't want to stop and talk. I just want it to change a little bit. When you say that in advance, you are giving everyone such a powerful tool to control the scene in a way that brings both of you more joy.
And I always frame it too as like, again, a lot of people come and they're like, if you're submissive or you want someone to be aggressive with you, you're like, I don't want to tell you what to say. I don't want to tell you what not to say. That breaks the fantasy. And I have to explain to people that I'm like, most tops are like emotional vampires. What I'm hungry for, what I want out of this is I want your fear and embarrassment and degradation and shame, whatever it is, whatever the emotion is that you're going to give me, that's your thing. Help me find the ways to get there. I'm not just saying stuff, if I'm saying stuff and it's not resonating, I'm not getting what I want. So give me what I want. Tell me what buttons to press. Help me find them.
Fuck, that is so good. That is, I even struggle to explain sometimes, well, what is the Dom getting out of it? Being like a vampire is exactly what it is, that you are feeding off of the fear, the embarrassment.
And it's not always the same thing. Again, like a degradation person, I'm like, I will feed off your shame and your like fear of me or whatever. And the more nurturing, like I will feed off of your submission and your like want to please me. I will feed off of whatever it is you're putting out that you're happy to put out, but just tell me how to get there.
I love it. You mentioned foot fetish. We will not be sharing pictures of your feet, but I can confirm you have beautiful feet. We talked about it in our first episode together. Do you get a lot of foot fetish people?
Yes. Like, it's a popular fetish to begin with. And yes, I will say, the photos are on the internet for anyone who wants to go looking to verify.
Oh, and we'll include the links. Yeah. We'll include links so that those interested, and I highly recommend you be interested in Miz Darling's feet, can get to them.
Oh, well, thank you.
If a foot fetish just comes to you, you going through those types of questions, or are there other things you're asking specifically for a foot fetishist?
Yeah. So I often start off saying, with feet for you, is it more about the aesthetic, or is it that is the lowest part of my body and it has these connotations of being like lower and degrading? Or is it a mix? Because that helps me to narrow it down. Because some people just have like a straight foot fetish where like I'll do sessions with people that just, hey, I want to like play with your feet and we can even make small talk, or you can just sit back and relax. Like some people it's just about them engaging with a nice set of feet. And then other people, it can range almost the opposite, where it's like, I'm not even that attracted to feet, but I like that it's like the only part of your body that I deserve to have any access with, and it's like degrading. Some people find it shameful to touch, but it's like the only thing, the best I'm ever going to get from you because it's all I deserve. That's the main narrow down. Yeah. It's so wide ranging with foot fetish. Like again, like everything to clean or dirty feet, or what people want to do what degree shoes are involved versus bare feet. Like it's all kind of over there. But it's definitely one of the ones that I think is oddly most accessible. Like certain guys come to me and I'm like, it's fine. If you want to pay a professional with nice feet in order to rub her feet, that's great for me. I love that. But some foot fetishes, I'm like, this seems like a really easy thing to accommodate. There are women in my life that like foot massage is enough, that I'm like, you fucked up in your relationship. You could have had a man that you're like, okay, I will let you rub my feet after you go do all the dishes. That could could have been your life. You messed up.
I agree with that because I think a lot of women don't understand how much give and take there is in a relationship like that. I mean, first of all, I highly understand. I do not have a foot fetish. I don't hate feet, but the idea like this is the only part I deserve access to, like that does something for my brain of being told, but you could do that with your hand or your butt and tell me like, oh, you only get access to this. And it would play with my mind in a way of like, oh, I am unworthy. And then I'd obsess over that thing. So in your example, it also works of like, you can get access to this if you go do the dishes or, you have a lot of power in doming and making it work for you. If this is something your partner wants, it can be mutually beneficial. How do you think that, I am going to put it on the person with the fetish. How do you think they could better explain to their partner, like, hey, this is actually really easy. This is highly accessible. This is not a difficult thing or a scary thing.
Even in kink relationships, you always have to find the place where your interests overlap. And I think that there are more ways to do that than people realize. Again, a foot massage, it feels good and it's a nice thing to do for somebody. So even if you can present it, like again, it's where they may not get a full foot domination response out of their partner, but if you can start there, that's a good one. The guys who are into foot odor, it's a harder sell because it's a little more taboo, but the fantasy really is that I value you so much that even the stink of you I love. Like, even the stink of you is powerful and like I worship the sweat from your foot. That's kind of like a big act of like love and acceptance in its own sort of thing.
I agree completely. I'm laughing at like parties I've been to where the foot worshiper, like literally they come up to you and they do smell of feet. And that's like, they're probably at their happiest in that. For the person like being asked to do it, part of it I just want to call out is sort of getting over the fact that yes, your partner can love this about you just because you feel embarrassed, because I think it's a lot of like society tells you you have to smell clean. I mean, think about the perfume industry, the body shower gel industry. It is all about smelling not natural. So the idea that you smelling natural could be appealing, arousing to someone. Marketing companies have spent millions trying to convince you otherwise. And I want people to realize that you can be loved. Your odor can be enjoyed. Even if you think it's disgusting, they might truly love it, or they might just enjoy all of you.
Absolutely. Or being like pushed to like, what level can I love you? Like, can I eroticize even the sweat from your feet or whatever it is?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I have a lot of empathy. So I understand why for some people it might be like, ew, no, gross, disgusting. But like, there's a lot of self-acceptance that comes with it of, oh, I'm being loved no matter how I am. I would love for people to lean into a little more. You're describing. It's just, try it on. Going to a clothing store and finding something that you think is hideous and you put it on your body and you realize, wait, this hugs in all the right places, hides all the wrong places. I love this outfit on me. I wish more people would try that out of like, okay, so what? Go to the gym. Wear the same socks to the gym 2 days in a row. Let him like peel those socks off when you get back from the gym and see where it goes.
Absolutely. And there's so many ways, like again, living with another human is an annoying experience because people suck to live with is just a reality, a fact reality. So again, for the Spanko people, I'm like, if you have a partner that wants to be spanked, you don't have to do it as a sexual thing. It doesn't have to be a sexy thing. If they leave their clothes on the floor, I think a lot of people think it's going to be a reward, but a lot of these things can be done. It's like smoke the whole pack is my philosophy. Like if you like smoking cigarettes, fine, you're going to sit down and smoke the whole pack. You can kind of do that with impact sometimes where it's, I'll try giving you like a nice spanking or a play spanking, but if you leave the clothes on the floor, I'm going to bend you over and you get 20 with the bath brush, whatever it is.
I hate the bath brush. Yeah, exactly.
Everyone hates the bath brush. Yeah.
It sucks. And you can make it suck and make it so that they're actually having the experience they want ultimately because they'll fantasize about it after. I always say everyone fantasizes about the sessions or experiences that they hated in the moment and thought they didn't want. They're not fantasizing about the nice spanking that's exactly what they asked for. They're fantasizing about that version of it. But in the moment, very hated. You're getting to help indulge their fantasy while also maybe helping yourself out.
It does genuinely suck taking the bath brush, so it's not something you want every week. You're going to get your clothes off the floor.
And that's just a note on motivating for like cleaning and any sort of household chores. I see how a foot fetish is extremely accessible. The spanking one can sort of be a little more difficult if you have roommates who aren't Spankos and you have your partner over and, that can be heard. Even in apartment buildings, I have questions about how much people can hear next door. What else would you classify as an accessible kink or something that's good intro starter kink for a non-kinkster to dip their toes?
So I had a scene with somebody the other week where I chained him up in his hotel room. That was the scene. The role play was that I was his kinky wife who cajoles him into, oh, let's just try. I'll just tie you up, honey, just for a little bit. And then I ended up having so much fun with it that I leave him chained up for an hour or a couple hours. But I remember asking him afterwards, I'm like, that was so much fun. Your wife wouldn't be open to doing some extent of that? And he's like, no, not really. I understand that not everybody is into accessing dominant energy, but it just seems to me like that was one that could be, there's something about restraining masculine sexual energy, knowing that it can't be restrained forever and that eventually it's going to come out. But I just think for like a vanilla partner in general who wants to be kind of ravaged by their partner, if that's the vanilla fantasy, chain them up for 45 minutes, give them a little lingerie show and like show them your boobs and like whatever else, get a lot of attention, have them super horny, see visually that they're super, super horny, get really close and lie on top of them, but don't really let them touch you, make them obsessed with you for 45 minutes and then unlock them and let them have their way with you. How is that not an accessible fantasy for everyone involved?
Oh, I love it because that's also just teasing. And I think we all tease our partners in different ways, even if it's not in a sexual way. I think we're always pranking or playing jokes on our partners. I think that's universal. This is just a bedroom extension of it, of like, it's a fantasy of I tricked you into getting tied up and now I'm going to have my way with you, or I'm going to spend 45 minutes teasing you, as you said, in different ways.
So many women want to be chased. Like that's the fantasy. So restrain him and make him want to chase you and like be dying for it, be super horny and like visibly horny in front of you for 45 minutes or however long you decide, and then let him off.
This is the type of thing that is a solution. Sort of when two fantasies are not in the exact same place. I think that oftentimes we can build a bridge to each other. It's just about figuring out where to build that bridge. And I think that's a perfect example of this is my fantasy, this is your fantasy. Actually, we can make this work by just being a little creative or storytelling with each other to find a way to intertwine the story.
Yeah, which is exactly what people in kink spaces, like just because two people might be spankos doesn't mean that they're into the same fantasies. You might have things that you do with your partner and then want to explore a different aspect that he's not into. And you've got another friend that you're like, oh, we do that together. Again, my thing is I don't top my partner. That would be a hole in my heart if I didn't have many other people to top. So,
oh, yeah. And I'm glad you are able to work that out. I have similar feelings around topping. I think it comes more the longer I'm in a relationship. Do you know what I mean? Sort of, we talked about how if the itch is scratched for a while and you're balanced, you can handle it, but then it does come back around in time. And having that network of people and the parties and even just the conversations with your partner to say, hey, this is something I want to try. I want to experience it. That is an invaluable step that you can take to helping your partner better understand how normal this is, how these groups and gatherings exist, even if it is not your partner's thing, it is a lot of people's thing.
Yeah, and how none of us get everything we need from one person. Like, that's not realistic.
It is not. And that's not to say that if monogamy is your thing, that's totally fine. But sometimes, again, this is not about just sex either. For some people it is and some it isn't. And I know that I have a lot of deep friendships. I go on girls' trips. I go away without my partner. Like, there are certain things I enjoy and I indulge in them. There are certain things he enjoys and indulges in them. This is, once again, just an extension of that.
Absolutely. And it's funny, relationship to jealousy changes also, I think, in the scene, because whereas if your partner has a piece on the side that you don't know, you start thinking, oh God, she's probably so pretty. Your imagination fills in the blanks. Whereas when you meet a person, you're like, oh, they're a person with flaws. And my partner can play with Amanda because I like Amanda and I want her to have a good time and have an experience with a top who's safe. So I'm happy that my partner and her are playing.
It really does fill in all of the blanks. Our minds do amazing things with the idea of like, oh, they're probably X, Y, and Z. And even if they are not, we are masters at making that true for our own brains and bodies in thinking that's true. Have you ever seen Baby Girl, the movie?
Yes, okay. With Nicole Kidman.
Yes. The movie with Nicole Kidman, Baby Girl, a lot of people wrote that they would never believe Antonio Banderas would not just do what Nicole Kidman wanted. And I was the first. I came screaming back at those people. I was like, are you kidding me? Do you understand how common it is that in this situation, the woman wants to play that stereotypical woman role that we think, oh, no woman actually wants this, but that like, let me submit, overtake me, punish me, spank me, tell me what to do. She wants that. And her husband, Antonio Banderas, laughs at it a little, giggles and thinks it's silly and really invalidates her desire and makes her quite shy about it. So I think this all goes both ways. It just so happens both of us had way more male clients than female clients. And that is why I actually thought the movie was quite believable. If you live in a city, you get into weird situations. If the roles were reversed and it was a male CEO and a female intern, I think people would have found it more believable too. But I think it's really common for partners to either purposefully or accidentally invalidate their partner's desire, including something like being chained up.
Yeah,
And
100%.
yeah,
And
I
my
don't
favorite
think
part of that movie was when Antonio Banderas says, nobody actually likes that. That's just like a male fantasy, whatever. And the other guy, the Dom, is like, actually, that's not true. Women are more into this than men. And I'm like, yes, that is actually true statistically.
Yes, I thank you for bringing that up. I need to rewatch this movie. I want my partner to watch it, and I also want to review it because I have to argue with so many kinksters who like hate on that movie for no good reason. Or I'm like, well, no, that is an experience. Yes, that point. Statistically, it is true. That's what we see in so many studies. Unlike the marketing companies benefiting from people thinking they shouldn't smell like their natural selves, I am not sure who benefits from invalidation of desire. An invalidation of women wanting this fantasy in the bedroom. Of course, they still want the same rights outside of the bedroom, or at least most women. But I say most women because I don't know if you know this, Ms. Darling. In America, there's this group of women who openly say that they would happily give up their vote to their husband. And it's making its way into mainstream. Like sometimes in social media on my comments, I'll see repeal the 19th, meaning the 19th Amendment for women to be able to vote. So I say most women still want their rights. I hope it is the majority of us forevermore. But they want that domination. They want the fantasy. And I hate that we're trying to get rid of the fantasy or invalidate it. Or even in real life situations where it's brought up to a partner, making them feel like their fantasy is wrong, silly, degrading. I mean, it's just fantasy.
Absolutely. And it's hard. A lot of human sexual desire is not politically correct. It's a hard thing to navigate. It's hard to be a person that wants to dominate, and especially if you're a man that wants to hurt women in this day and age. I want to hurt and dominate women. Or if you want to be a woman who's hurt and dominated by men but identifies as a feminist, which I do. That's a hard one.
Or it's also hard for women to understand that their man might want to be submissive because the idea that being submissive is the antithesis of being a man, which upsets me a lot because the idea is, oh, so a woman is, you truly believe a woman is supposed to be submissive. It's play. I love that you pointed out that a lot of it is not PC. It's not politically correct. So little is politically correct in the bedroom. I do not understand why we draw the line when it's fantasy.
Absolutely. Well, again, this comes up a lot. You know that I do a lot of ABDL fetish, ABDL being adult baby diaper lover, which is one of the most stigmatized, least understood kinks out there ever. It's even hard for me to make content. People sometimes feel me out on like, am I okay doing age play? And I'm like, yes, because it's fantasy. There's nothing that we can do that is going to make you a minor or a blood relative of mine. Nothing is going to do that. I'm fine with it. It's just funny.
I reach out to a lot of people to invite them on the podcast to talk about living the ABDL lifestyle. And I'm like, I let people come on without video on if they want their privacy. I am really surprised at how hard it is to find someone. So listen, if anyone is listening right now and you're into ABDL and you want to come talk on the podcast about it, please reach out to me because I've been reaching out to creators and crickets of people who want to come talk on a podcast about it. So I just wanted to mention that I understand it's so stigmatized that people into it aren't even really talking about it publicly.
I mean, it's one of those things. I'm lucky that Toronto has a pretty good ABDL kink community, which is amazing that not everybody has that. But that's a big, huge thing. But ABDL, I'll say, is one of the ones that, of all the people that don't tell their partners, ABDL is right up there. Like, it seems like, especially the diaper fetishists, the fact that you want to do that, and it's hard to explain to a partner, which always strikes me as hilarious in terms of, I can beat somebody black and blue, and that is more socially acceptable than an adult who wants to wear an incontinence device. Like, why?
I always recommend people who are into ABDL to please, just like you when I go to Spanko parties, Ms. Darling, there are ABDL conventions, weekend-long events where people meet up and are into this. I highly recommend people go because I think meeting your people and being around community helps you normalize it for yourself, even just to share with either a current partner or a future partner.
And also, it's a huge fetish. Of all of the fetishes that have stores and things available, like there are so many ABDL-specific stores where you can buy adult diapers with like cartoon prints on them. There are way too many of these stores operating and making money for there not to be a huge community that is way bigger than we know.
I really love how you just made such a solid point using capitalism. You're like,
capitalism
believe me.
says there's lots of it.
Not as much of this would exist if people weren't buying this stuff. And you are totally right. I agree completely. All right. We have talked about a lot of things, but I want to talk a little bit more about the book and how we are midway through 2026. And I at least have felt a resurgence of like, I am making this happen. I am reaching out to people. We are co-authoring a book on fetish. And Ms. Darling, no one talks about this more eloquently than you do. So I want you to just, for anyone who didn't listen last year, let's tell everyone about the book.
Yeah, so we're working on a book we're calling Complicated Pleasures that explores fetishists looking for love and long-term relationships. There are so many questions that both Amanda and I get from fetishists saying, if you have a fetishist or if you have a fetish, should you only look for partners within the fetish community? Can you make things work with a vanilla partner? If you're looking for a female dominant, it's too much to ask, you should just settle for something else. There are so many questions people have about how do I go about looking for partners if I have this one extra component that needs to be matched with. I always tell people that I know people in all of those situations, fetishists in vanilla relationships, fetishists in fetish relationships, poly, various other things. It seems like people are making these things work in different ways with different compromises, but unless you are connected into the fetish community, you don't get to hear those stories, and people outside of them don't have any guidance. So Amanda and I are doing interviews with different fetishists and hoping to bring some stories out there to share with the world.
Very bluntly, we are full up of spankos because that's our community, right?
Those are people.
Yeah, they are our people. We love them. They have told all of their friends about them, but we are looking for other fetish communities to interview and talk to different people with ABDL, power exchange, balloon, hair, stockings, feet, different fetishes that they have brought to their partner and explored with their partner or left a partner. We want to hear all of those experiences. So if you are listening and you are part of any of those communities, even if you feel you are not the right person who wants to be interviewed or talk about it, and it is completely anonymous, we would love if you would share this episode with them. Share our website, complicatedpleasures.ca. We want to reach far and wide with this. So if anything we've said resonates with you and you also are passionate about helping people feel more normal or having access to information that I think for years, even with the internet, we don't have that collection of stories and examples to create our own blueprints for how to live in relationship when you have a fetish or want to share that with your partner.
Absolutely. And we all know that so much about relationships is compromise. And I think most people wonder, where am I going to have to make the compromise? And so this is not a book of fairy tales. This is about a book of different people compromising and coming up with creative solutions in different ways. There's not going to be one answer that fits for everybody, but hopefully this will bring inspiration about the kind of answers that can work long-term with people.
Oh, that's just so good. Well, Ms. Darling, I'm going to include links to both your sites so that people can get all your beautiful feed pics and more. Link to our book site, complicatedpleasures.ca. And if you are listening to this now, if you're exploring the links, please make sure to pass on this information to people you know who might in the future benefit from a book like this, or if they are willing to contribute, we would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. And thank you so much, Amanda, for having me on again.
Oh, always. This definitely will not be the last time. Thank you, Ms. Darling. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with anyone who might find it interesting. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out. Email info@thekinkconsultant.com. Until next time, keep on kinking on.